Nick Bahe podcast is brought to you by Pella Windows and Doors. They're rainy windows because it's a sad recap pod. There's like rain trickling down on windows right now. Pella of Omaha and Lincoln wants every homeowner to have the best quality windows and doors, even when it's raining, and they're willing to bet $100 on it. Call the Omaha and Lincoln showroom or go to PellaOmaha.com to find out how you can get $100 in new windows and doors starting at $122 a month. And the Nick Bahe podcast is brought to you by Brickway, Cut Spike, Lucky Bucket Family, great brewery and distillery. Been drinking the Oktoberfest. We got the bourbon here from Cut Spike and Brickway. I'm going to be bringing this to your house later. I'm very excited to drink that. Make sure you check them out there in Omaha, in the Omaha La Vista area, 4 blocks south of 120th and Giles. And the Nick Bahe podcast is brought to you by Peerless Energy Systems, the Solaire authorized distributor for Nebraska and Iowa. Solaire is the leading American manufacturer for air compressors for any and all air compressor needs. Go to peerlessenergy.com. That's Bo Ruud. I'm Nicholas Allen Bahe. Nebraska loses at home 31-24 in overtime. So you and I have been good so far this year. Like, we haven't talked at all. We talked for like a minute before we got started. My analogy was like, I feel like this recap pod is a 1,000-piece puzzle. I don't even know where to begin. There is so much to sink our teeth into with last night. I know it feels like the sky is falling today, and there are some really concerning things that happened. There were some really exciting things. In some ways, that was the close game dragon.
Well,
that was my first thought. That was my only first puzzle piece. I was like, that's literally what we talked about in the midweek pod.
So we talked about slaying the dragons. There's the 3 dragons, or the 3, however you want to do, the 3-headed dragon, or the 3 dragons that they gotta slay, right? So the 3 dragons are winning big games or national TV games, are turnover disease that we've been inflicted with for 20 years, and losing close games, right? So that's more of in the last 6 years that's really come to head. But I feel like there was a part of us that maybe one of those with the Colorado game we kind of got over.
Yes.
Maybe not all the ways, but winning the big game, national TV game, we kind of partially slayed one of those dragons.
Felt like it.
Turnover disease, that's going to be a whole year-long experiment, right? But I think so far we're starting to slay that dragon, right?
Yeah.
But the losing the close games, right? Clutchness, whatever that thing is, the chasing 3, that's been that part of it. This was our first test in a close game, and we did not pass the test.
Yeah, because we talked about how everybody knows it, inside and outside of the program, the issues in the one-score games. They named the documentary Chasing 3. It's literally everything they talk about, and here comes the first moment for it, and you fall on your face, and it's already a mental hurdle that feels like it just went up another notch.
And here's what I'd argue, though. This is why I think this was kind of hard to understand how to talk about today, because except for overtime, I felt like that wasn't even going to be an issue. You know what I mean? Only overtime made me feel like, whoa, what was that?
I know.
Even the fourth quarter drive, I felt like it wasn't that way.
Today we're literally going to be oh, what is it? Is it the movie Memento, where it's into the movie, there's no mementos all over, we might be all over the place. Overtime, I'm serious. Find me a worse performance in overtime in a major sport in the mother effing history of sports.
I mean, we lost 50 yards.
It was 3rd and 42.
Yeah.
3rd and 42. So I'm with you as we go to the mental thing.
We started with a penalty, which is classic. Yeah.
Well, hold on. You start with, I love where we're going. It's game recap. Overtime. But you start with, and I've rewatched it a bunch of times. I wish we had film and you could talk through it. The first play, Illinois gets the ball.
Yeah.
Ty Robinson loses all contain. I don't know if he got down blocked, got caught inside, whatever it was. They gave it to Fagan, and he had nothing but green grass. Our Nebraska safety took a bad angle and fell.
I thought the safety, from my understanding, I thought the safety was supposed to have sort of edge and force there, right?
Yep.
And it looked like he was looking elsewhere and then was late and then took a bad angle. But I think it was actually supposed to be the safety down, and he needed to be down faster and harder.
Because he was 12 off the ball.
Yeah, and he was kind of like he kind of slipped.
And his first move was a back pedal,
and then he
slips, and Fagan gets a huge head of steam and gets 21 yards on the first play. Then on the very next play action crushed Nebraska, especially around the goal line. I thought the one thing I felt like the chess match of play calling from the OC for Illinois against Tony White. As much as we love our guy Tony White, I thought the OC for Illinois had a mother effing great day.
I mean, if we're being objective, that was clear to me too.
Yes.
Like it was clear that third downs, all these red zone actions, like they had beaters for us that our guys they didn't know where their eyes were supposed to be. They didn't know who their man was. Like every time they did the spider wide banana, right?
Yes,
like it was like some version of that. I was watching because I kept rewinding. Like we'd always have like a safety and a corner, both not really guarding anybody, and it just looked like we didn't know how to either eyes on your man, stay on him, or like who's passing what to who, right? Like you got flat, you got up, that's the only way to do it, right? Either you're locking man or you're passing off.
Right.
It's the only ways to do it. And we really weren't doing either.
Either one, because if you really stop and think about it, again, we're all over the place here, so bear with us, people. Let's just all embrace the craziness of this thing. The first touchdown, I don't know what happened to Tommy Hill. Now, he ended up leaving the game because of a foot plantar fascia thing or whatever. Yeah. But I bring that up to say, like, when you think about that, you think about they ran another play action and found a tight end wide open.
Yeah.
Then you think about they had the offensive lineman eligible on the goal line. Yeah. He's open. And then the touchdown in overtime, they put Pat Bryant, they're arguably their best wide receiver, so smart. They slip him in. He gets in at fullback. He gets really small.
But that shouldn't. If he's one of their best players and he lines up at fullback, you can't not see that and say, like,
look out,
Yeah, it's like there was usually like a call. I forgot what we used to call it, but like it was like alert trickery, essentially.
Yes.
Like when that guy's there, everyone takes notice. They're not running ISO with him.
Yes.
I promise you that. If you're there, you go, rule out one play. They're not running ISO.
That's such a great point.
Right?
They're in an I
he's
formation.
Going in the flat.
Yes.
Like there's no other way that, like, he's not going in tier. He's going out. Right?
He's not going to go take on Bullock.
No.
And clear the way for Fagan. And so, but they put him there, they slip him out, he's wide open. I say that to say, I want everybody to mentally think of those. Those guys are wide open for touchdowns.
And they did to us about 3 times.
Yes.
Right? Like 3 of those, like, and to us, like, it's not that you got to win every time. That's not realistic. But, like, the more prepared you are and the better, like, sound, or schematically and like in the chess match portion, like the preparation versus their preparation, we got to win one of those 3 where they kick a field goal and we win, right? Like the game comes down to 3 points. That's sometimes, or I guess this was a touchdown, but the chase, like chasing 3, right? One touchdown versus a field goal
changes the game.
It is the game. I think.
Yes.
And you found out the end of the game for us. Right. Like, it's just
so to circle back to OT, 21-yard run by Illinois. Pat Bryant play action, slip him out, wide open, no one near him, touchdown. Then, as you brought it up, the Gatula false starts after Turner Corcoran gets hurt. So all of a sudden, Tommy Hill, who knows how long he's going to be out. Turner Corcoran's out. Yeah. That's your second tackle out potentially now with Teddy P and now Corcoran. And then all of a sudden, they run the twist with the inside guy come in. Raiola backs way up, gets a huge loss. And then they have the one blitz to end the game right down the middle, and Emmett Johnson's going to pick him up and, thanks for coming, drive home safely. But seriously, that's as bad of an overtime performance as I've ever seen. And it'd be one thing if it's one thing to lose the game. Let's say Illinois scores, but they gotta work to score. Nebraska's defense holds up on their first drive, it kicks a field goal, and Nebraska can't score, and you lose by 3. You're like, I don't think you feel as bad. You feel bad, don't get me wrong. But the embarrassing what the hell was that performance of overtime? I don't know.
On both sides of the ball.
On both sides of the ball feels like, whoa, what? I mean, if I'm Matt Rule, you got to be real concerned about what the hell that was.
Yeah, that to me, like everything else about that game, for the most part, this is the first one I've watched at home. I've been at every other game, so I got to watch one from the couch. I missed the 400th sellout. Great job.
But
that's just how it worked out with life. Sometimes you got to take care of the kids, and so. But just being able to like sit there comfortable, like I was pretty comfortable for most of the game. Like I wasn't too worked up for most of the game. So I think that's what's so unique about it. It's like I felt like this looked like a Husker win going to the last moments. And then it was like, what was that?
Yeah, you're like,
and that's what we got to wrap our mind around, because I don't think I want to overreact too much to the overtime, because we had, a pretty good football game, especially offensively. I felt pretty good. I mean, defensively in the second half, I was a little.
Oh, you ain't lying, boy.
Yeah, but
there's some stuff to talk about the defense. But you're right.
But like, I didn't feel bad about our team, because when 15 had the ball for most of that game, I felt like I was like, this was maybe an all-state NIL deal. I felt like I was in good hands.
Yeah, no, I know. You're right. I mean, it was, I think my prevailing thought, and this goes to maybe the comfort and the confidence that everybody kind of felt, or just not panicking, was my main thought was, man, this is a great game.
It was a good game, yeah.
Like I was, so throughout the game, it wasn't like that pit in your stomach, like, oh God, it's all falling apart. This isn't going to end well. I was more like, damn, these two teams are like trading blows. I was wildly impressed with Illinois. Like, they're way better than I thought they were.
This is the best even when they had their good season 2 years ago.
Yes.
This team's better than that team.
This team has, I mean, Altmaier's just a crafty dude. Fagan's just a huge guy. Even their other 21, their other running back, solid. They got a couple of wide receivers that are very good. Xavier Scott, I think their defensive back number 14 is a good player.
A couple guys on the edge.
A couple guys on the edge are pretty good. Yeah. Like they're pretty good. And so, but I think Raiola gives you confidence to not freak out. Like, it just kind of felt like anytime, like you said, anytime like Raiola had the ball, you were like, well, this is probably going to go pretty well.
But I think you're spot on. Altmaier is a real quarterback. I mean, I don't know if he's a pro, but he's a really good college pro. I mean, he's like in a lot of ways, like, I mean, I don't want to compare him to Dylan because he's not the same kind of arm, but like he's just very efficient. Like you can just see him, like he gets the ball out. He gets like he was really like efficient with the ball, which I think that's the part that why they're going to be a good team, even though maybe top end talent they're not that impressive compared to like the higher end of the Big Ten, but they're really well coached. I think that when you got a quarterback and a pretty balanced team. And they play that Bielema brand of football, which that's Big Ten football to me. And this was our first Big Ten test, and we didn't pass the test.
I was gonna say I got a bunch of different things I want to hit here, but it's true in almost every sport. Matchups stylistically make a huge impact on things. There's a part of me that feels like UTEP spread finesse team that wasn't even trying to run the ball. Colorado spread finesse team not even trying to run the ball. And then Northern Iowa was an FCS team, although there were some concern, like a lot of the red flags of that Northern Iowa game that you didn't know what to make of, kind of like went, ooh, okay, there's some concerning things with that. But I say all that to say, maybe we all got a little lulled into a false sense of security based on the first three teams that you had two like ideal matchups in Colorado and UTEP, and then an FCS team. And all of a sudden, here came an Illinois team that there's still this thing, and I'm guilty of it. For some reason, Nebraska fans have a hard time to not view teams like Illinois or Purdue or whatever through a Northwestern, through a certain lens. Like, come on, it's Illinois. Man, Illinois is ever been as talented. You could argue, if you want to start listing good players, you might list more Illinois players than, I mean, it's not like I say that we get caught in a bubble. We're like, man, how good is Tommy Hill? I don't know. Their corner's just as good as Tommy Hill. It seemed like. Oh man, how good is Dante Dowdell? Man, they're running back. I'd almost rather have Fagan than Dowdell. Like, and so it was a little bit of a, I don't want to call it a wake up call, but it was like, hey man, these teams, these Big Ten built teams are well coached, they're big, they're strong, and they got, for the most part, Nebraska still doesn't have, outside of Dylan Raiola, they don't have the high-end, like, dudes that these other, like, that are way better than everybody else.
Last year, Illinois had a second rounder, a third, a sixth, and a sixth round draft pick, picked in last year's draft. A first, a second, a third, and a fifth in the 23. In 22, they had a third, a sixth, 21, third, and fifth. So, like, in the last 3 years, I mean, they've had a couple of first and second and third round drafts. Like, they top end, like, Illinois has been putting guys in the pros, right? So, I think we need to not kid ourselves that talent-wise, like, what have we been doing? What have we been putting in the pros? I'm just saying, like, if you were to compare us, it's like there's not a huge difference at this point. Now, can we separate in the years to come? That's the hope. But, like, I think it felt like this was an evenly matched game in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
More than I was. I mean, I thought we were going to have more of an edge talent-wise, and it didn't really feel like that.
It didn't feel like.
When their D-line lined up against our O-line, I was like, can we block them? I don't know.
To me, I felt like everything seemed. I'm trying. Raiola, Banks, Nair. Those three guys, pretty good.
Yeah.
Everybody else on Nebraska's team, they're good. They're not great.
Yeah. I
mean, even like, I like Ty Robinson a lot. Ty Robinson is not Jared Crick. He's not, he's not Sue. He's not a first or second round guy, and so, you just, it was interesting to all of a sudden, here comes a Big Ten team, and you're just like, oh, this is way more even than I think people were anticipating it to look. But real quick, to put a bow on the overtime thing. In the last 8 overtimes, Nebraska's offense has combined for 27 plays, minus 20 yards, 4 interceptions, 0 first downs, and 0 points.
It's interesting.
Think about, like, the last time they scored in overtime, if I'm not mistaken, was in 2014, Bose in that Iowa game.
Yeah.
They are, it's just, it's mind-blowing. And then the other thing, Nebraska's, this is all courtesy of Stu Manji, who does a great job on Twitter of having these numbers. Nebraska's final offensive possession when tied or losing by 8 points, 1 score or less. 33 drives, 29 games, 11 turnovers between 10 different quarterbacks, 4 different offensive coordinators, 4 overtimes, 2.5 staffs, 1 win. Like, I know we know that Nebraska's having issues in these one-score games, but it is hard. Those numbers, 33 drives, 10 different quarterbacks, 29 games. You're turning it over like this. It's what's so weird about it. It transcends staffs. It transcends players.
It does. And it feels like the common thread is we can't block. I mean that, like, we can't pass protect. It seemed, I don't know what, I remember just like I'm having flashbacks to Adrian Martinez against
at
Illinois.
Oklahoma. Yeah.
And it was just like sack. Like almost like there was no time. It's like a 1,000, 2,000 sack. That is basically how our late game overtime pass blocking goes. And it didn't feel like that the rest of the game. Like there seems to be something about our late game pass blocking that just is like, I mean, I guess we always talk about being clutch. Like being clutch, like throwing and catching.
Right.
What about pass blocking? Can you be clutch? Like, I'm going to block my guy and just give my quarterback a chance to make a play. That to me is like being clutch on the offensive line. I mean, it has to go across to everybody, right? And so I would say that is like the part where I think I trust that the least of all. We have Dylan Raiola now. I've seen enough from Dylan where I think if you give him time, he's going to make it happen. I really think that.
Oh, yeah.
But he cannot do that if they can't block. And we cannot seem to block in those clutch moments. So, like, one of our big things is this, we got to slay this close game dragon. I think it's going to come down to, can we actually give ourselves a chance by blocking? Pass blocking when we need to. Or run a screen, run a draw.
Right.
Get the pass rush slowed down. Like, I thought they did a good job, and I think it was in the first half, that they have a good end was, speed rushing on us. And a couple times, got in there and wrecked havoc. We start chipping him.
Yeah.
That is a good adjustment, right? Chip the end that is giving our right tackle trouble, right? Like, that is the type of stuff we have to do better, is like figure out a way to give Dylan a chance. It doesn't mean it's a guarantee, but if you're giving him a chance, that to me is the best recipe for to maybe turn things around. It's like, you got to give him a chance to make the throw.
Yeah, you're so right, because I agree with you. When I just think about all those drives, the one thing that comes to my head is just no time. And we wondered in the offseason, like, is Dylan Raiola, it was Valerian Steele was what killed the White Walkers in is I guess not a dragon, but like, is Dylan Raiola the sword that can slay that dragon for the close game dragon? And I think he is, but he has to have time.
Yeah.
And he didn't have any time there. And so, yeah, you could have left. This was going to be anytime you lose, it's a little bit of a gut punch, all those things. But just the way the overtime unfolded made that loss feel way worse than it maybe actually was. Like, sometimes you walk away from these games and you go like, man, that team's not that good. I left pretty impressed with Illinois.
I think they're a...
Oh, I don't think they're like a top 10 team or anything like that, but like...
in the Big Ten, are they a top 5 in the Big Ten? Obviously, Ohio State, Penn State,
USC,
Michigan, Oregon, maybe...
Iowa.
Roughly, like, let's call it...
They're like a top 7 or 8 team, probably.
7 or 8, easy, I would say.
I think so. But just the way that overtime unfolded...
It just leaves a bad taste.
It really is like, whoa, what is going on here? With the defense, though, it's really the defense. Even from the first drive, it felt like the defense was never really in control and dictating and winning the point of attack. And the biggest concern was Illinois ran the ball at will in the second half.
That to me that's what I'm more concerned with than anything.
And I don't know what to really... So Illinois finished with 168 yards rushing. My math has they had 131 yards rushing in the second half. And so, and I saw this stat. Illinois had 19 first down runs that averaged 5.5 yards per carry.
Yeah.
104 yards of rushing on first downs. I guess the thing that maybe has me the most, if we had to go doom and gloom, I think the thing that has me the most shook from that game is all of a sudden it went from like what I thought the strength of the team was, what was going to lead this team was really, which was the defensive line and really the defense in general, seemed to struggle. And all of a sudden now that kind of rattles you a little bit, like, okay, I don't know what, like, and I'm guilty of it. This is not a top 10 defense right now. This is not a top 15 defense. Like,
no, we
need to slow down with that. And so was there anything you saw with,
this is where Tony White's going to earn his money next couple weeks, because what I don't know is this 3-3-5 in the Big Ten with the Bielemas, the Iowas, these teams that do this, like they're it's like they're very detailed in their run game. Like they know how to get you out of your gap and bounce you a little bit. Like I'd watch them kind of bounce our guys out of their gaps, and they're very patient. Like they're very good at these little things in the run game, but it makes you got to be just dialed in. You got to be so detailed on your assignment and gaps, and they just take advantage of you, don't. And so to me, I felt like they did take advantage of us. Like this is where Tony White's going to have to show, hey, this 3-3-5 can be. It can work absolutely fine in the Big Ten against people that want to run the ball against us. But he's got to be able to adjust now. He's got to be able to say, hey, we have answers for what they were doing to us. We're going to refine this up. We're going to be fine. We've seen times where people don't have answers. Then it gets ugly, right? Yeah. Then you're pressing. So I think this guy's a good enough coordinator that he's going to have answers. But we did get out schemed. We just did.
I don't think there's any question about that.
They were ready. They were more ready for us and what we were trying to do than we were ready for what they were going to do. And then and they were doing what they wanted to do. They held the ball roughly the same amount of time that we did, but it was really that second half run game that I think is what we're going to be concerned about for the next, because once they did that, we're on our toes the rest of the game.
I just think that if you had to say, like, what's your biggest, other than just the mental thing of, like, that monkey stealing on your back and the way the overtime unfolded, but all that's kind of like, some of that is like an intangible thing that's hard to kind of quantify. The Illinois rushing for damn near 140 yards in the second half and having 5.5 yards per carry on first down, that is a big red flag to me. Yeah. And just generally speaking, like, outside of, when you think back to last year, outside of the Michigan game, there wasn't a single opponent last year that did what Illinois did last night to Nebraska. We're recording this on a Saturday. And so you're trying to just figure out what trying to make heads or tails of it. I mean, I think one of the things we talked about, or one of the things I always kind of brought up throughout the offseason, is like, one of the things that I'm curious to find out about Nebraska is, last year, did they beat up on bad offenses with bad quarterbacks and it give us an overinflated view of how good this defense actually is? I don't want to go that far, but I don't know. That was just mano-a-mano, guys getting moved, and then a little bit of the scheme stuff. That those two things are, and then the other, like, the defensive backs struggled to cover a little bit too.
Yeah, I think the DBs had their worst game in general. Like I told you, like I was kind of watching the safeties, and like it seemed like they just had, like, they were out of sync all day. I don't think our D line played well. John Bullock is moving up the ranks as maybe the most dependable guy on the team right now.
He's playing great.
Yeah. I mean, the only guy that I'm like, I just feel like Bullock right now on that defense, I think he has been as reliable as anybody. He's been playing, and he made the big strip. He's tipped a bunch of balls. He's done that.
Yes.
He has steadily been playing, I think, better and better as each game goes on too. So I think he's really finding his stride right now. So other than him, though, I don't know that I'm seeing the consistency that we kind of need to see, because I don't know that anybody's just a first round, second round talent. Even like Ty's probably the biggest monster, and he's not dominating at the level, that type of,
a guy that you would think of that caliber.
But he's still Ty's one of our guys.
Yeah. But
he's going to be a big factor this year. But, like, we didn't see a bunch of him.
He didn't splash a lot.
No.
The other thing that I saw Sean Callahan tweeted out was that kind of makes sense. He talked about how Illinois, he felt like they were scheming against Nebraska's pass rushers, meaning when Dr. James Williams and Prince Will are in the game, it's all speed rush up the field, and they run right underneath it.
I'm so glad you said that, because that was actually one of the things I know. It was like, I think it was this was maybe fourth quarter, right before I think it was like 3rd and long, and they were in 5 wide. And, it's like, and they ran the diamond thing, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going, all right, this guy's not drop back passing, right?
I know exactly what player you're talking about.
And Williams goes way up the field, and instead of like closing it down and making the guy stop his feet, and because the QB, it's either he's thrown it over the diamond or it's a QB draw. They're not doing anything else. And Williams just doesn't have the I think presence to understand that. Like in the moment, you can't run up the field and just open the gates to now it's 3rd and 4th and 2, and guess what they're going to run next?
Yeah,
like a play that's
right.
Get the first down or get a touchdown, which I think that was the next one was the touchdown.
I'm pretty sure. I go back to the play. I know exactly what play you're talking about.
Yeah,
but I think as I kind of look for it here, I think a couple of those guys, like as much as we love our guy Dr. James Williams rocking the baby, he's a little bit of a one-trick pony. It's just a speed, fast off the ball. Get up the field, get around you, and you can use that against them, but if you're playing too much,
that's where if you play too many people, right, and they're doing one thing, like if they're like, hey, when you're coming and you do this, like good teams are going to scheme that up. So this is like the more film that's out there, you're going to see more of this. Like you guess what? If he can only do that, then he can't play as much, right? So it's unfortunate, but like this is the more film that goes out. Like you're going to get schemed up more to like what you're showing, and you got to be able to adjust. You got to be a little bit more multiple. So this is where I was talking about Tony White has to just show us what he's got and adjust. We just got to adjust and refine a few things. I think we're going to be fine, but it's a matter of like we got to shore some things up because we've had 2 games now. We're just giving up basic things.
You're right. So it was 3rd and 9. They run the quarterback draw. He gets 7. Then it's 4th and 2, and they put in the big eligible O-lineman that slips out, and it's a touchdown.
You give him the chance to do that. Otherwise, it's a field goal, right?
Right.
If you can make the stop.
And that tied it at 24.
Yes. That's the thing. Like, that's why everything, like when there's a close game, everything matters.
Yes.
It just all does. And so, we can go through 20 of these things, but like, you have a lot of ways to win and a lot of ways to lose a game.
It was nice to see that they did. The 2 fumbles forced were great. I mean, Bullock makes the great play early in the game when it's 7-3, and then Sayer Wright, the USC transfer who came in for Tommy Hill.
Yeah,
like I thought he actually played pretty for. I mean,
he had a penalty, but it's like an aggressive penalty. It was like, hey, I'm trying to lock this guy up.
Yes.
I'm going to give him the pass on those because it's like he got a couple of knockdowns,
and then he gets the strip sack, and Bayer recovers. So that was good to see. But it was just kind of like outside of the 2 forced fumbles. Illinois was kind of doing what they wanted to do offensively.
Yeah.
And it's a little concerning. The other thing, I promise we'll get to a few positive things here, but 60 yards of personal foul penalties. Killer. Penalties, self-inflicted, lack of discipline, lack of self-control, however you want to describe it, crushed Nebraska as well.
Sherman.
Yes.
Hartzog made a really
it was
kind of egregious, lazy face mask.
It's like, what are you doing?
And that doesn't seem like Hartzog. That's why I'm a little concerned. I give him a lot of the benefit of the doubt because I think he seems just like such a quality dude and such a quality player.
A winner.
That felt like the laziest play he's made in his career here. Was just like he kind of just like randomly did, like he almost looked like he did it on purpose.
And it wasn't. It was just like he flailed his arm in there and it was bizarre.
Yeah, and then I'm trying to think, what were the other?
So Ty Robinson and then somebody else had a hands to the face and a face mask, and it's like
two defensive line. I mean,
those are killers. And even MJ Sherman, like I think Devin Gardner, they were wondering like he was trying to punch at the ball, but at the end, it's like the play. The guy is the pile is laying there. Like, what are you doing?
You just can't. You can't get 60 yards of personal foul. It's just bad.
And so those kinds of things add up, 60 yards of personal foul penalties. And we'll get to, so you gave up a 37-yard punt return where Buschini boomed one, but it almost looked like he twofold. He outkicked his coverage and he looked like people were saying he kicked it to the wrong side of the field again.
Yeah.
And so it's like these things just, they add up in these games here. Are you concerned? I mean, the Tommy Hill thing.
But they say plantar fascia.
Plantar fascia, like irritated. I mean, I had plantar fasciitis. That's a yikes. And that's something. Here's the thing, guys. That doesn't go away. Yeah. Like the only thing that can improve it is resting it.
And then
like,
you don't get to practice.
And so, like, when I say rest it, like, you have to literally do nothing. Now, I don't know if it's plantar fasciitis or I don't know. The way Rule phrased it was different than a tendon, plantar fascia tendon, whatever. But like, for me, I dealt with it my entire senior year of basketball. I had to sleep in a boot every night to keep my foot flexed up. And like, I remember one time on one of my days off, I fell asleep on my couch, just kind of, you're laying there and you watch TV, and I fell asleep on my couch and my foot wasn't in my boot, and I couldn't walk.
Yeah.
Like, it is, plantar fasciitis is horrible. It feels like someone is stabbing you with a knife in your heel, the bottom of your heel, every time you are walking.
In receivers, running backs, and DBs are like the positions, like, man, if your feet are not like, it's all feet, right? But like, if you're no lineman, it's like you can get by.
Yes, yeah, because like, a lot of it is like it's
feet
just
are important everywhere. But like, man, you got like, you're stopping on a dime with a bad foot. Like, it's all start stop with those corners.
Well, it seemed like it in some ways the fact that Tommy Hill went out and then to hear it's plantar fasciitis makes sense, because again, that first touchdown, it was like, what are you?
It was like he got turned around and he looked slow too. I remember he was kind of like. He didn't look like he was running as hard.
I don't even know, like they said it was a double move. It's like, I mean, kinda.
Not really. It was just,
I mean, it was like he kind of stopped and like.
Did he come out immediately after that?
I don't think so. I'm not sure of when he officially came out, but I guess for me, it looked like something didn't, on that play, that was so bad.
Yeah.
That it was like, what's wrong with you? Like, he looked, and then now look, because it looked like he couldn't move. It looked like he couldn't turn and run.
Well, and it was it's one thing to like, hey, they have a drive. I think when you give people easy touchdowns.
Yes.
I feel like that changed the game in a lot of ways.
I guess that's
against us. Like, we start the day out like giving up a real easy one. And I don't know what it is. It feels like I could feel as like, this is going to be a long day for us. I didn't for a second after that moment think we're going to come back and blow them out. I was thinking like, we're in for one today. That's how I felt immediately after that, because I'm like, this looks like a team that's ready for us, and we're not ready for them.
Well, they got confident. I mean, it's like, crowd is rocking, 90,000, everybody's screaming, and they just, on their first drive, just march down the field and walk into the end zone. Altmaier's feeling good about himself. The whole team can exhale, and there's just all of Illinois' touchdowns were just easy. Now, I'm not saying it was easy to get to the position where you could score a touchdown, but like these guys were no one within 2 yards of them.
Yeah.
Easy.
Either out schemed or blown assignments. Some sort of like, it was just like, it was not a good day for our defense.
No, it's very concerning. Okay, we'll get to the offensive side of the ball. There's a lot to discuss there, and then we'll get to some of the decisions and all that. But got to tell you about Peerless Energy Systems. You hear the name Peerless, and you go, Peerless Price? Yes. The owner, Ed McMorrow, was watching the 98 Orange Bowl, and Peerless Price was getting interviewed. They asked what his name meant. He said, without equal. And that motto stuck with Ed when he launched his company in 1999. And Peerless Energy Systems is the sole air authorized distributor for Nebraska and Iowa. They go to market via local distributors and make some of the best air compressors and ancillary compressed air equipment in the industry. So if you're in manufacturing, food processing, you have a body shop, transportation, whatever, for any and all air compressor needs, go to Peerless Energy Systems. has you covered. Go to peerlessenergy.com. That's peerlessenergy.com. And the Nick Bob podcast is brought to you by the Brickway Cut Spike Lucky Bucket family tonight. So we have a party at your house tonight. I'm looking at this Cut Spike bourbon here. By the way, I asked Alexa if you can use bourbon to make an old fashioned because you wanted to make old fashions for us. Right. And Alexa, who would never lie to me, said yes. So this right here is going to be made for some old fashions tonight. They are just these bourbons are fantastic. I told you about the Oktoberfest beers I was drinking. They're great as well. Check them out in the Omaha La Vista area, 4 blocks south, 120th and Giles. That's Brickway Cut Spike Lucky Bucket family. Really excited to have them on board. And we're brought to you by Pella Windows and Doors. Working with the local team at Pella was fantastic. My experience with them. Debbie and Vince and the crew helped me find the perfect fit for our home during our in-home consultation. Debbie and my wife Kim are like best friends now. It's amazing. Then we visited the local showroom to ensure that our selections were the perfect choice. The installation experts, they were on time, professional, courteous, and they left our house cleaner than they found it. Call the Omaha or Lincoln showroom or go to PellaOmaha.com to find out how you can get $100 and new windows and doors starting at $122 a month. That's PellaOmaha.com. Okay. Let's talk about Dylan for a little bit. Let's try to lighten the mood here. Holy shit. Whatever ceiling we maybe thought he had, last night, there were moments last night where he was jaw-droppingly good. He finishes 24 of 35 for 297 yards, 3 touchdowns. Should have been 4 touchdowns. His only 2 interceptions on the year are basically like,
we caught it and they took it away from us.
Yes.
Like a good throw that they made great defensive plays. I'll blame the receiver actually for not doing your job of getting it
holding on to it.
That's your job.
Yes.
So you really shouldn't have a interception.
He should have 0 interceptions. I don't even. I was texting somebody last night, and they texted me and they said, I just can't believe Dylan Raiola is our quarterback. And I think it is I feel like for years, you've always been watching another quarterback like, man, look at this guy. Could you imagine if you had that guy? Yeah. It is, I am, so for as much as you want to be doom and gloom today, the main reason I am still you know what, things are going to be all right is as long as you have Dylan Raiola, you got a chance.
Yeah. So the doom and gloom of, have we not improved? Are we still the team? We still got the dragons to slay. And we're going to make this slaying the dragons going to be a theme throughout this whole season. We should every week check on it, right? So, but we are not the same team because of this guy. So even if we didn't make that much improvements everywhere else, this guy changes so many things, right? So, like I said, going into the overtime, if you're going to say, how do I feel about the Nebraska program? We're right where we need to be. This is we're going on the right path. Overtime was terrible. But, we just haven't had an offense that I feel can, execute like we can. And, we have a quarterback that can just make throws that I've just never seen our quarterbacks being able to make. And the timing, the placement, sometimes he does these beautiful little, he drops it over the top of people. That's the stuff I'm oh, that's just nice.
People touch. The 30-yard over the head of a linebacker, but in front of a safety.
He just kind of it's just like a little flick and it just drops in. Well, he has a real good sense for those kind of throws.
The back shoulder stuff to Banks, him and Banks have a real connection with that. His ability to throw backpedaling off his back foot, the one to Fedoni.
Yeah. That's a tough throw.
That's a tough throw, guys. He is backpedaling with a guy in his face and off his back foot and just a little flick. And it's got this velocity. He's got this velocity yet touch and soft. It is so catchable.
Brett Favre threw a missile.
Yes.
Brett Favre was breaking people's fingers, right? Dylan's looks like it's I'm throwing you a pillow. It just looks like I can catch that ball. It looks like a softer throw. And I don't mean like I like it. I like that it looks like it just looks easy. He's not like just flinging missiles. It seems like he's just throwing softballs to people in a really catchable way.
Even the seam route to Raiden, to Barney.
Yeah. Raiden?
And Raiden, that little dude's tough. I mean, because he got hammered.
Yeah.
Caught it, popped back up, was good, but like that pass, that's a hell of a ball.
It's a great ball.
That's an amazing throw.
Great catch, too. But like I say, he throws it where his guy can catch it. And the defense, most of the time, doesn't even have a shot at it. So, like, Dylan over time is going to prove to be so much more efficient because that's part of the skill. Is even if we don't catch it, he just throws it in a place where the defense can't get it. Whether we catch it or not, that's going to be one of the skills that I think he's going to have. That we've always had quarterbacks that like were pretty good and could throw the ball, well at times, but they would throw bad interceptions too, like right to the defense, like really bad timed and very misplaced. Dylan seems to not be doing that. Like he just seems to have a better feel for like when he throws a pick, it's like they usually make an unbelievable play to get the ball from us, right? So that's what we've seen so far. I mean, obviously he's got a lot more football to play,
right?
But it just looks a little different, and that's why I'm loving what I'm seeing out of him. I think we can win a lot of games if we just play good football around Dylan Raiola.
Again, you have to remind yourself, this is a true freshman. That was his 4th college game he's ever played in. And so for as good as he is, you have to imagine, like, he's scratching the surface a little bit.
Yeah. The mindset of the team has to change. And this is the change, right? So it used to be our defense and the rest of the players in the team had to win the game despite the quarterback. And the quarterback's job was don't lose this game.
Yes.
Now the roles are reversed. Like the rest of the team needs to not lose this game and let Dylan go win the game. Yeah, because he's got that sort of ability.
I totally agree. I'm not so sure I don't think I believe this, but I'm like just putting it up on the board and we're going to talk about it. Like, I'm not so sure I didn't go from like the strength of this team is the defense and the defensive line, and that's what's got to lead the way to win. I'm not so sure I'm now not thinking the strength of this team is Dylan Raiola, Isaiah Nair, and Jamal Banks, and you have to let those guys go win the game.
Yeah, I mean, so
I don't know if I believe that, but like, it's what it looked like last night.
I don't want to overreact to the last game and the last, game and a half, right? So not a great
Northern Iowa
performance against them, right? But we still I think what's so refreshing and exciting is that our offense is actually real. Dylan Raiola is real. Like it doesn't feel like a fluke. It doesn't feel like we don't know what we got. I think we know what we got.
Yes.
We don't know how, we don't know yet what the ceiling is.
I'm looking at
the floor is so high though. It just feels like this is amazing. The floor in this guy is amazing, right?
Yeah.
So we don't know the ceiling yet, but the ceiling could be really high.
It could be incredibly high.
But it does change the way we think about the team. But we don't know. I don't know what this defense is yet. But now that we know this floor is so high, it's less about Dylan just needs to be, he needs to be the best game manager. Like he does. But he's going to have to go win a couple more games and maybe if our defense isn't good enough, then we have to put more on his shoulders. Maybe more than we want to, but he's kind of shown that maybe he can do it. At an early age, more responsibility. I would prefer he doesn't have to do that. I would prefer we could be a defense first team.
That's what I thought was so good about this.
Right.
That's what I thought was so exciting about this combination. And I don't want to. I mean, I'm going too far with acting like the defense now is Swiss cheese and terrible and oh my God, they can't stop anybody. I mean, I'm going over the. It's an overreaction, yeah. But I also think it's relative to what people the way I thought about him and a lot of people thought about him. I mean, people were talking is this a top 10 defense in the country? It's
if you're going to say
if you're going to say that, then they're not there right now. But I love the idea of okay, you got a team that's led by the defense with Dylan Raiola. Oh man, this is a great combination. The other thing, these Banks and Nair look great. Those guys make big-bodied I know Nair got it wrestled from him, but those guys, so it's a combination. Raiola still is just, I am like, I was watching the game with my wife, and she just was like laughing at me basically on how much I was like oohing and awing and screaming and moaning and groaning over Dylan Raiola. Like I'm like, look at it. Oh my God. Rewinding it. Look at that throw. Look at this. This is even my Rich Boz, like Dylan Raiola with like 1 million exclamation points early on in the game. Like he is captivating. And it's so exciting that Nebraska has that guy. So it's like it gives you, it's the old Scott Shanley line you used to give me all the time. A quarterback gives you hope or they give you despair. Like the hope that he gives you is so real. That's if Nebraska still was strong at that quarterback spot, you'd be like, oh man, this is going to be a long year.
And that's why we need to bring this conversation back to a place of that, like a place of, we're still in a good spot at Nebraska right now. Like we've got Dylan, we're an improved team. I think we've got a really good head coach. And I think everything's still going in all the right directions.
We totally agree.
We need the defense to show up and play the way like the black shirts can play and have shown they can play, right? Like good, tough, fundamental football. And we can't be dictated to as much as we just did this last game.
Yes.
Like we have to dictate the game from a defensive standpoint. And I mean, a lot of that's going to be on Tony White. Like Tony White's got to make sure these guys are like in a place where they are sound. They know what they're doing so they can play fast. Like I felt like we were on our heels all night.
Totally agree. It's just of all the things that I thought we would be talking about after four games into the season, I did not think we'd be talking about just the defense in general and going, man, they got schemed. Man, they got to be better assignment detailed and got to tackle a little better. They got to be a little better up front. Like, so it's just, it's a little startling that has happened. The other thing with Raiola though, there were 3 moments though in the game that were like, he got real loose with the ball late in the game. He had the one possession where he dropped the ball twice and just killed a drive. And then we still haven't gotten to, these what if moments live in forever in our minds in Husker football. We talk the T-Nun fumble against Texas, the 1 second against Texas. Take your pick of a bunch of different things. The Connor Culp punt against Michigan State, whatever.
Oh man.
3rd and 3, 21-yard line. Play action. Luke Lindenmeyer is running wide open in the end zone.
Yeah.
And Dylan Raiola inexplicably misses him.
Yeah. Sails it a little long.
Just sailed a little long, missed him. Would have been a touchdown, great play call. Now, I was getting some text messages from people they're like, why is it Lindenmeyer and not Fedoni there? It is a little bit of the reason he was open is the disguise of you're not it's expecting
more of the blocking tight end. I think he came from I think it was like fullback to the flat to the right, and then Lindenmeyer is the right blocking tight end
and post away from the
like dragged away from the action, and then Raiola came back from the fullback read to him and just sailed it. I mean,
it's like
I give Raiola.
Oh, so do
all sorts of great. This guy, it was hitting so many. So I chalk that up to that's part of the game. Part of the game is you hit most of your throws, you miss a couple. That to me doesn't define the game.
I don't either. I'm just saying
much as like a Nair moment. I think the Nair moment's more defining to me.
Interesting. Okay, so the where he got it wrestled away.
Yeah, I think that's a play you just got to make.
Right. It's bizarre. I can't think. It's pretty weird that in a span of 2 games, you see the same sort of 2 guys catch it at the same time, and as they're going down, the defensive back rip it from the wide receiver. I can't remember any of those plays over the course of the last decade, and you've had it twice in a 2-game span. But yeah, in some ways that you have a touchdown ripped away from you. It was the right call, by the way.
It was the right call. And I was actually like, I shouldn't be glad. I just, I like it when they get it right.
Yes.
But like, yeah, it was clearly an interception.
It was clear. It was Nair had it. And then as he was going down, you got to complete the process of the catch.
Yeah.
As the process is unfolding, he starts to lose it and the DB rips it and clearly has it.
Yeah. If he would have like caught it, taken 2 steps, holding on to it, and then but he'd only like had the 1 foot, like it was more like a falling thing versus like a catch it running in and they rip it, because then I think all he has to do is cross the goal line if you would have taken 2 steps, but But back to that. But Dylan Raiola, I mean, he had an open guy, but you're right. You can't have it both ways. You don't make 100% of your shots. You don't complete 100% of your passes. So, take your pick of big boy throw, the one to Fedoni, the one to Raiden, the one to the back shoulder to Banks, the one, how about the second one where he's on the goal line where he kind of just throws it up to Nair and Nair gets it, So like these things have a way of evening themselves out. Exactly. Yeah.
But, okay, I was surprised, be honest, in the moment. So now 4th and 3 at the 21-yard line. You could either go for it with Dylan Raiola with the game tied or kick a 39-yard field goal with a backup kicker and what did you... I'm not gonna lie. I didn't think, they need to go for this.
I was debating it.
Okay.
So I talked myself, like there was my instinct said, I think we go. I had this weird, like, I don't trust the kicker.
Yep.
But then I like overruled. I said, it's short enough that if you don't make it, you're going to be kicking yourself so bad for not going for the field goal. Right.
Yes.
So I talked myself out of going for it. And then they kick it and miss it. I'm like, so it's like, I don't know what the right call is there. It's just long enough with a backup kicker that we don't really fully trust that you go, I don't know, man. That's a tough one.
That's a damned if you do, because if you go for it and don't, because if you go for it and you don't get it, we're sitting here going, you're a major Big Ten football team, and you have a 39-yard field goal to take the lead with 3 minutes left.
Like, it's probably the right move to kick the field goal.
I thought it really is. I don't want to be disingenuous and play it after the fact where you're at a blackjack table. Like, I wouldn't have doubled down there. I wouldn't. Whatever you do, like
in the moment, I had talked myself into the field goal, which means it's probably the right move.
But it was 4th and 3 at the 21 with 2:59 left.
It should be a makeable field goal. That's a makeable field goal. The guy's got to make it.
He's got to make it, man. You got to make it. I don't know what else to say, but you have a backup walk-on kicker. You have a walk-on long snapper. The laces Ray Finkel. Yeah. Ray Finkel was a little like, that's
laces.
Laces were in, and it wasn't even really close. He hooked it. But here's okay. But then this spills into another thing from that. Like, you ain't running it. Because Dowdell kind of got it going on that drive a little, but I guess the thing that spills into the thing that I wanted to talk about, I wrote down is, can Nebraska actually run the ball?
I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it obviously to me. Like, it's not obvious. We're just making holes, and
I mean, it's again other than that last drive where Dowdell kind of got it going a little. And Ramir had a few nice individual runs. You ran. I mean, you ran for, if you take out the Dylan Raiola had minus 52 yards rushing because of all the sacks, but you ran for about 100 yards. I mean, Dowdell was 20 carries, 72 yards. Like, that's
I thought Dowdell ran hard though.
Yeah,
like, I think he runs hard. I like the effort he puts. I don't know, man. Our running game feels average.
I think it's real average right now.
Average.
I don't, and
our O-line in general, I need to see more before I write them off. I think, the depth of them, like we talked about depth to start the year, like when your program's really in a good place is when you can go too deep on every position, and I don't think we were there to start the year, and now we are.
Yeah, it's really getting
now
hurt.
we're getting into
because Bazooka didn't play again.
Yeah,
you Teddy Pennywas down, out. Turn your Coke around,
That's
out.
the third.
So
left tackle.
Two of your starters, really three. I mean, your best guard and your two starting left tackles out.
Yeah.
So obviously your picture is going to change, but that's my thing about third and about the fourth and three. It's like, what? I mean, you're probably going to. I mean, you're going to keep the ball in Dylan Raiola's hands, but it's. I don't know. I mean, I think the one thing that throughout the game we talked about whether you felt concerned or whatever. The one concern in the back of my head was like, in the second half, I just felt like one team can run the ball right now and the other one can't.
That's a great point. I didn't think of it in that sense, but that's a confidence. There's a confidence to being able to run the ball versus being like, like it's like, even if they're like, you can't throw it well, but you can run it. It's just such a different feeling. Like,
right.
Versus if you can't run it, it puts too much pressure on your O-line, I feel like.
Yes. Or on Dylan Raiola to be, for Raiola, Banks, and Nair to be like all world good.
Yeah.
And that's just hard to do.
Yeah.
And so that's concerning to me. Like, I'm not totally, like I said, how I phrase it. Can Nebraska actually run the ball? I don't know.
It's funny. The more we're talking, I think we've had a lot of this, we've been talking about a lot of things, but I feel like, can we shore up things schematically? And then what is our O-line going to be for the rest of this year? Because I think those might be the two biggest concerns, because I think what we're figuring out is we know that Dylan is going to be, his floor is going to be leave us in a good situation.
Right.
Our weapons are better than maybe we thought. I mean, they're not all world, but like Nair, Banks, Fedoni showed up.
It was his birthday, by the way.
Your boy is back. Canton is back.
My Twitter is so off the chain during games. It's incredible. People are putting people in the club. I almost need to give you access to my Twitter so you can see
I should just join Twitter so I can just see what you got.
It is incredible. People Canton, Ohio, sending different guys to the club, putting guys out of the club.
Yelling,
it's so
send
good.
Send him to Canton.
Well, now I honestly feel like for a midweek pod, we need to I almost think we got to revisit. The club's getting interesting now.
The club's getting shook.
But keep going. So O-line and your concerns. O-line, what's that look like for the rest of the year? And that kind of like, AKA is like, can they run the ball?
Can they run the ball, and then can they protect in the clutch?
Yes.
I don't know that about this O-line. I think we're only going to go as far as they let us go, because I think we got the guy that can, like, if you give him time with those weapons, I'm going to bet on Nebraska, Nick. I will bet on that team. But if whatever we saw in overtime, like zero confidence to run it, can't pass protect, like if they're going to show up with a lot of that, I mean, betting on Nebraska might not be the smartest thing, because like we've seen how that goes.
Well, just when the pressure you put on Dylan Raiola and Banks and Nair and those to be like, it's just hard over the course of 4 quarters against Big Ten defenses and Big Ten defensive coordinators to especially as this weather is going to start to turn, to be able to just ask Dylan Raiola to throw for 300 yards and be out of this world good, and Nair and Banks to make traffic catches that are like, I mean, that's hard to do. Yeah. So one thing about running the ball is it travels well. It plays in any weather. Yeah. Whatever you do, guess what? Hand it to here, and it's going to get 4 or 5 yards a pop. But so O-line, scheming, tightening things up defensively, schematically.
Yeah, it's one thing when you get like bullied. I just still didn't feel like we got bullied. It felt like they attacked our weaknesses really well. It felt like more of a schematic win for them, right? So I'm not saying we just need to buckle up our chin straps and be like,
put your hand in the dirt.
It's not a put your hand in the dirt.
Is this about who can put their hand in the dirt?
It's literally like, I want you to take your hand out of the dirt, and I want you to go into the classroom, and I want you to go on the blackboard. I think you need to get
the complete opposite of that.
Yeah, it's like, I think they just need to be more sound,
right,
so that they can play faster and more physical. I felt like we were a step slow on our heels because they were making us think. Like our line, they were getting our line like bumped out of their gaps because they were being defined in their blocking schemes. Like I saw a couple times, even like Nash got like double teamed.
Yeah.
Like when you do a good double team, you're knocking the guy out of his gap, and then the double teamer's getting off to another block. And that's how you make holes.
Right.
So Nash either has to be stronger or has to know like, hey, here comes the double team. I got to be like quicker to react to not let them like get me out of my gap, right? So you got to be, but there's a lot to that. It's but that's the part of the chess match that you have to be constantly adjusting and reevaluating.
2 sacks, 2 TFLs for the team.
2 turnovers. That's really
2 turnovers, but like
we're winning the turnover battle because of that. The defense is in the end, like if you can get the ball out, like let's appreciate that they have gotten the ball out
for sure
every game, right? Yeah. Every game we've gotten the ball out. So I want to give them props for that. I think our guys do play hard. But
yeah, this isn't like
they just were not disciplined. Like it felt like we didn't know where we should be looking, what our assignments should be, and we just lack discipline on a few.
I've just have always felt like when you're not when you're on your heels and you're you're not the one that's dictating it all, defense is hard.
Yeah.
And it just felt like the whole game, it was half a step or just a little out of position, and things kind of unfolded in that way. I mean, because it was, when you look at their final stats, they had 25 first downs. Illinois did. They were 7 of 13 on third down, 2 of 3 on third down. They had 300. They had almost 400 yards of total offense.
Yeah.
It was they only had 3 penalties. So O-line, how they're going to play, run game, protect Raiola. Schematics defensively, tighten that up. I'd throw in there, like, and this is more just out of, like, how he's built. Like, who's Nebraska's lockdown corner now? I mean, are a little worried about, first third down, they threw a fade at Buford. Boom.
Mm-hmm.
You had a lot of guys running free. Now, all of a sudden, you got Sayer Wright, I thought played well, but now all of a sudden, who knows what's going to happen with Tommy Hill. That's a little bit of a concern.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big concern. When one of your guys who's in the club is now maybe on the bench, like that should be a big impact on the team, and I think it will be.
Couple of other things. So, a few of like the what if plays. Of course, Nair getting the ball ripped out of his hands.
Yeah.
There was a missing Lindenmeyer, missing the field goal. The missed pass interference on Nair in the end zone, I thought that could have, I didn't think that was, a lot of people are acting like it's, like a crime against humanity. Like, I don't know. I mean, it's like, I didn't.
Nair didn't really sell it either. I think, you know what, part of that is you got to rip through his hands.
Yes. And flail. And I mean, I know.
That's part of that whole thing. I mean, we don't love flopping, but you got to almost.
You do got to sell it.
You got to sell it. You do.
A play that I saw one replay of, and I still can't figure out what happened. On Nebraska's first drive, Ramir runs a little wheel route out of the backfield on the goal line.
Oh, yeah.
The defender falls down.
Ramir runs out of bounds.
Ramir ran his route out of bounds.
I mean, that's just another, like, it's like an awareness thing. Like, I don't know what you can say other than, like, you're a 5th or 6th year guy, like what are you doing, right? So.
There might have been some. I think if I'm remembering right, their right defensive end
almost sacked
Dylan Raiola, which maybe got things off schedule, but still that shouldn't.
The ball was out, and Ramir should have been in the end zone.
I guess I'm just like, okay, even if the right defensive end got pressure, what does that have to do with Ramir running out of bounds?
He ran his route out of bounds, and then he kind of tried to get back in, but like all he needed to do is run to the end zone and
he's
stop. Open. I mean, Nick, this is the difference between. I really think the difference between winning and losing is like you just don't make those kind of plays. You make 30-yard field goals. When the quarterback puts it on the money, you catch it and you don't get it wrestled away from, and no dumb penalties. Run your route in bounds. Like these aren't like extremely hard things. These are pretty basic things. And they add up. They add up to a win or they add up to a loss.
Okay, I was almost like nervous to throw this at you because I missed something. I rewound it a million times. I want to see a wider angle.
He ran out of bounds.
What are you doing?
I think he just lost his presence, where he was on the field.
So you settle for 3 there. So that 3 points there. You have a touchdown ripped out of your hands. You also miss a field goal.
Yeah,
that's 14, 17 point, whatever you want to say. And here we are again. Welcome back to the game recap pods where we're playing the what if, woulda, shoulda game. But I'm just, to me, it's more like, it's not hard to run your route and stay in bounds.
Yeah. Like I said, we're talking about basically 14 points that they could have pretty easily taken.
Yes.
That we left on the field, we lose by 7.
And you go, so that's where you sit there and you go, okay, this guy, you have a touchdown ripped out of your hands. You had a touchdown where a guy just inexplicably ran his route out of bounds. You missed a 39-yard field goal. Your lockdown corner gets hurt. Your starting left tackle gets hurt. It's the sky's not falling, but to tie it back up as we kind of wrap this thing up to the beginning of how we started this thing, that overtime was so bad that I hope it's not. I don't think it will be. I really don't, because I think Dylan Raiola is too good for this to happen. But that overtime was embarrassing enough, Bo. That overtime was embarrassing enough to really take the wind out of your sails.
Yeah. However, our next 3 games are against, I think, very beatable teams. I think they've got some good. I think Rutgers, I think Indiana are both going to be
tests. And then Purdue, your first road game, 11 a.m., whatever.
But they're not like Ohio State's October 26th. I am so glad we're not playing Ohio State next week, right? Or USC, right? These are teams that they're just right now on a different level that I think we need 3 more of these games to see if we can get some more momentum. We had a lot of momentum going into this game, and this is the first time we've kind of gotten, let's hold our horses here. Let's, are we what we think we are? We're not sure still, right? So this will give us a chance, I think, to sort of shore up our confidence and our identity heading into the home stretch of the season.
Yep.
I think we're fortunate with this schedule.
I agree. I do think there was it just be interesting. There was the beginning of some serious swagger starting to build, and it'd be interesting to what kind of swagger that this team has now.
Nick, I was hearing college football playoff talk.
Yes,
I was hearing that, and I was just I go, ooh, that seems like a pretty big jump from I can't believe we beat Colorado to college football playoff. So I think this is a reminder of where are we? Until you can block and you can run the ball, and
I'm at the point. I'm at the point. Now, I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm at the point where we sit there and we look at Purdue got beat 66-7 by Notre Dame. I'm expecting this game this Saturday to be a 1-score game.
I wouldn't doubt that either, Nick.
And I'm expecting Rutgers to look a lot like this Illinois game and be a 1-score game. And then I'm thinking when they go to Indiana, I'm thinking it's going to look a lot. So we can do this thing where look at this. It's we do this thing and I'm guilty of it. So this isn't me if a team isn't Ohio State, we're well, come on. This is guys, all these games are going to be hard from the maybe UCLA seems like they're a little bit of train wrecky now.
Yeah.
But we do this thing where it's unless if a team's like Georgia, Michigan, or Ohio State, you're
you're so right. And it's one of the greatest flaws of being a Nebraska football fan is that we had so long where that actually was true.
It was totally true.
It was so true. And then when it's not now, it's still hard not to think that it is. That we are just gonna beat Purdue, Rutgers, and Indiana because come on. We always they're this level of team and and that's how it used to work. But maybe we do have to, until it happens for a season or two where we do make the leap, we just have to assume every game's the coin flip.
Yeah.
And you got to bring it. Like Matt Rule says, every week, you know, it's
1-0 every week.
1-0 every week. That's literally the way us fans need to do it, because even right there, I just started like, well, you just got like, not really.
Not really.
Not
I mean,
for
I don't.
Not for, like, we are the overtime team until we prove we're not the overtime team.
And now, I mean, we're like, I don't want to get too far off the beaten path here, but like, there's still, I think the thing that is always just interesting about Nebraska in general, we talk about whether it's the 90s, like everything about how the program is covered, packaged, it looks, all those things gives off like it's ran like, covered like, feels like, from all the peripheral things, like a top 10 to 15 team, but it's not. And, you know, even I think Bielema joked after the game, is like, this was their 400th sellout. We just had our first sellout in 10 years. So it's like, there's just this like weird thing that everybody deals with mentally, of they see what that stadium looks like. They see the light show. They see the sellouts. The student section seems like it's like rejuvenated this year. And you just forget, like, oh yeah, where Nebraska's at on their path getting back up to things. I guess they could easily still go on and win 8 or 9 games. It could happen. I don't know.
Yeah, but we got to get over the 5-game mark.
Yes. I mean,
that should be what we're trying to do.
Too bad, man.
It is.
I mean, it's like, God, you have
you know what? That's going to be part of this journey is when you got it, you got to take it. And we had it in front of us.
You had opportunities to win.
You know, and so the hope is that we learn and we get better, and we find a way that, you know, to keep getting better at taking the opportunities given to us. Because, like, you know, you're not always going to get this kind of schedule.
Could you imagine? I think this isn't even like a funny fact. Can you imagine if someone sent you the screenshot of before the season starts, or even before the game starts, that it would say 31-24 overtime, and Nebraska's lined up on offense, and it says 3rd and 42.
I mean, I'd be like,
I can't believe. It was almost. It was hard. You can even tell Brando and Devin Gardner didn't even know what to like say. It was 3rd and 42.
And
has it ever? I want to know what's the record for the most. Like, what's the longest down and distance in the history of football?
I think one time somebody like fumbled it all the way back to the like 1 yard line. They're like, all right, like 1st and 19.
I wonder if there's been like a 3rd and goal from like the
I swear I've seen like a 70, like they've had like 70 yards to go somehow. Like it was one of those really long fumbles.
There's something about 3rd and 42 that you're like, all right, let's get this.
Especially in overtime where it's like you have to score to win, and you get 3rd and 42. It's not like you can punt it then. You have to go for it.
There was getting to a point where like Nebraska was going to have to run a Hail Mary to get a first down.
That's what we were doing. Second, and there's like, they line up in Hail Mary formation.
By the way, Devin Gardner called it. By the way, I thought Devin Gardner was awesome. I was like, I thought he was terrific. I think he was on it. I thought he was entertaining.
He did the half and half.
He did the half and half.
I don't know about half and half.
I don't know about that either. I'm not totally sure on that, but I do know his analysis. I thought was really good, and of course, my guy Timmy B.
He just had a nice. Like, I liked his personality.
I loved his personality, and he just was he
was insightful too.
He just was really good. But he called it before the 3rd down play in overtime. He said, now, if you're Illinois, what you can't do is have a penalty that gives them an automatic first down.
And they almost did. Yeah. I mean,
now, Banks, I think, flopped a little bit, but like that was close.
Do you know what you almost do there? Like when you're in that situation, you call run the seam, single high safety, whatever. We're playing for targeting. Like I would be like who's your worst receiver? Like Johnson. Seam route, get in there, just lay him out.
Like it's a kamikaze mission.
Yeah, it's like
you're like Johnson.
Like
we appreciate your service.
Yeah, come here, give me like a little thing of sake. He's like send him off to the kamikaze.
Give him a little here. Hey, here's some cut spike bourbon.
Japanese pilot.
Come on,
cut spike.
It's like it's in the Gatorade. It's like sprays it. He's like, all right.
It was an honor.
You ever seen those stupid? I've seen these. I've never been at a bar where
playing
like
for this team.
a guy. There's. It's been an honor serving you. I'm like, great 48. Look at him go. And it's like, boom.
Seam route. Oh, this helmet came off.
But honestly, you needed some sort of play that draws an automatic first down. Like
that's like an amazing thought. Like you almost have to, when you're in a situation like that, you play for the penalty. You really should. I mean, you're a go for broke anyway. Playing for the penalty. I think the seam route is the place to go.
The seam route targeting?
Yeah, or you throw a fade because then you know it's going to be like you're going to juggle a little bit, like you're going to be wrestling with that.
Right.
And you just should like run into him and like throw, you should really sell.
Or you sub in, who's the Jeff Ross, the roast guy? He comes out in a helmet and he just like roasts a guy. Got a quarterback here, number 37. What bet did you lose for that?
Yeah.
Just some sort of. And then
Ross is decked again.
Jeff Ross checking in for Nebraska, and he is already John here. He's that quarterback, literally just like roasting.
The quarterback is beating him. Oh, there's the flag, though. Everyone, there's the flag.
So there's either the kamikaze mission.
I think the kamikaze mission's the way to go.
You don't like my sub-in Jeff Ross?
I mean, like Ross has a opening with a line about his mother. Oh, there he goes. The gloves are off.
There's just a way to get to the sideline and like induce like a late hit. I don't know.
I think
it just was interesting. It was. I just can't believe that overtime. I'm in complete disbelief. All right, my friend. I told you that we were going to be like Memento. We were going to be disjointed all over the place. But I thought we covered. Was there anything? I'm just trying to rack my brain of any.
I think we covered it because we went back to the offense, the first half, some of the big plays. But I think sometimes we go drive by drive, but it felt like
too many big. There were too many big moments for
we had to get to that overtime. We couldn't wait. We had to talk about the overtime and sort of some of the big picture. Because I think there's going to be some overreaction, but like we also can't gloss over some of those big areas.
Can they run the ball? Can this defense tighten it up? But man, the thing that you have to remember is the sun came up, and Dylan Raiola got out of bed today.
Keep that guy healthy. I mean,
holy moly.
It's good that his uncle is his O-line coach because he will be coaching those guys hard, and they will be like they understand like. Protect this guy at all costs.
What is it? It's almost like trying to think of the analogy, like Kevin Federline with Britney, where it's just like like how it's like there's this feeling
hold on.
of like
where
I feel like how I feel about like I can't believe he's like our quarterback. Nebraska's
Federline can't believe
that he's like how does Federline have Britney Spears? It's like there's a feeling of like wow, look at this guy, or what is it? Is it in the
Who's the best? What's
the movie
guy?
where Eva Mendes is Will Ferrell's wife.
The other guys.
The other guys. And like you just can't Mark Wahlberg can't believe it.
What do you mean? You're married to her? Like yeah.
Wahlberg can't believe it. And then Will Ferrell's just like, yeah, it's so good. But that's how it's like I can't like I'm trying to create a picture of like I am watching this and I am just I feel
He's too good for us. He's too good.
I feel so lucky that this guy.
Don't let him know, Nick. Don't let him know.
Oh, I know you can't, but he is so good.
He's good.
A couple of my tweets last night were so over the top.
Nick, don't
not
tweet.
Good. Can I read you? Can I read you one of them?
Yeah, let me read. What did you do?
Seriously, guys, Dylan Raiola is freaking incredible. Can't even find the right superlative for him right now.
Oh, Nick, come on.
Is that too much?
Nick, you can't.
This is truly remarkable stuff from Dylan Raiola. What a half from a true freshman in his college game. Special player. Is that too much?
Too much.
I am in love.
I know, Nick.
I am in love.
Nick.
Listen. Dylan Raiola and I are going to get married on top of a mountain.
Oh, Nick.
Veronica and I.
You are.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll get out of here before I've started to lose it. I've started to confess my love for him. Should we get out of here before I do it anymore?
I'm going to need you to check in the game.
A Hurrdat Sports Network production.